Every morning is a brand new vote for the person you're becoming. You don't need to transform your life overnight, you just need to move the needle, one small step at a time. A single percent might not feel like much today, but stack that progress over weeks, months and years, and you'll be unrecognizable from who you were. This isn't about perfection, it's about showing up for yourself before the world makes its demands. Every sunrise is an invitation. Improve a little, grow a little, and watch how those tiny gains build a life you once thought was impossible. When you wake up in the morning, before you grab your phone, before you think about emails, before you even start to mentally list all the things you need to do today, I want you to pause. Just pause, because the way you start your morning isn't just about how you'll feel in the next hour, it sets the tone for the entire day. If your morning is rushed, reactive, and scattered, that energy follows you like a shadow, but if your morning is intentional, calm, and focused, that becomes the atmosphere you carry with you everywhere you go. And this starts with one simple practice: mindful clarity. Now, I know that word mindful, it can sound a little abstract, maybe even overused. But what I'm talking about isn't complicated, it's simply taking a few minutes, right after you wake up, to be still. To breathe, to center yourself before the chaos starts, because here's the truth: the world is noisy, and it's going to come at you fast. Notifications, texts, news, responsibilities, problems, they all demand a piece of you. If you don't claim your mind before the day does, you're already playing catch up. So what does this look like? It could be as simple as sitting on the edge of your bed with your feet on the floor, closing your eyes, and taking 10 slow, deep breaths. It could be kneeling in prayer, talking to God, or expressing gratitude for the fact that you woke up today. It could be sitting by the window with your coffee, letting the morning light hit your face while you think about the kind of person you want to be in the next 24 hours. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes, the point is, it's yours, your space. Your clarity, your choice. You see, when you take that time to be still, you're not just relaxing, you're training your mind. You're telling yourself, I lead the day doesn't lead me, and that's powerful, because if you start with calm, you're less likely to overreact when stress hits. If you start with gratitude, you're less likely to dwell on negativity when things go wrong. And if you start with focus, you're more likely to keep your attention where it matters instead of being pulled in 100 directions. Some people say, I'm just not a morning person, and I get that, but this isn't about suddenly becoming someone who wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and runs a marathon before sunrise. This is about starting your day with intention, no matter what time you wake up. Because even if you gain just 1% more clarity, 1% more peace, 1% more focus than yesterday, that's progress. That's how momentum is built, quietly, consistently, one morning at a time. Now, I also want you to understand something important. That first moment of your day is not neutral. It's either setting you up to win or setting you up to lose. Think about it. If you roll over and immediately check your phone, you're letting someone else decide what's on your mind before you've even decided it for yourself. Maybe it's a stressful email, a piece of bad news, or a social media post that triggers comparison. You haven't even brushed your teeth yet, and already your brain is reacting instead of creating. That's not a good trade. But when you protect that first space in your day, you're choosing what seeds to plant in your mind. You're deciding, I want peace here, I want gratitude here, I want focus here, and that decision, repeated day after day, rewires how you approach life. It's no longer about hoping for a better day, it's about creating one. If you're wondering where to start, keep it simple. Sit in stillness and breathe. Focus on your breath going in and out. Let your thoughts settle like snow in a shaken globe. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. If you pray, talk to God. If you journal, write down one thing you're thankful for and one thing you want to focus on today. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to show up for yourself before you show up for the world. Here's the thing, those 5 minutes of stillness might not seem like much in the moment. You might even think, how can this possibly change anything? But over time, that 1% better start compounds. You start noticing you're calmer in traffic. You handle that coworker's bad mood with more patience. You feel less overwhelmed when challenges hit because you've been practicing focus every morning. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's real, and that's what creates lasting change. So tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, take that moment for yourself. Protect it like it's the most important meeting of your day, because it is. Your mind is your greatest asset, and the first minutes of your morning are your chance to train it, guide it, and lead it where you want it to go. And when you own your morning, you start owning your life. Before the rest of the world has a chance to speak into your life, you need to decide what voice you're going to listen to first. The problem is, most of us wake up and instantly invite in 1,000 different voices, the notifications on our phone, the headlines screaming bad news, the social media feed filled with everybody else's highlight reel. And without even realizing it, we've given away the most valuable and vulnerable time of our day, those first few moments when our mind is fresh, unshaped, and ready to be influenced. That time is gold, and yet we spend it letting the noise of the world fill us before we've even had a chance to fill ourselves. Here's the truth: the first input your mind receives in the morning sets the tone for how you think, feel, and respond for the rest of the day. If you feed your mind stress, comparison, or negativity right away, that becomes the filter you carry into everything else. But if you start with something uplifting, something challenging, something that grows you, you're not just having a better morning, you're actually programming your brain to work for you instead of against you. That's why it's so important to feed your mind before the world does, and feeding your mind isn't complicated. It could be reading a few pages of a book that inspires you or challenges you to think differently. It could be writing in a journal about what you're grateful for and what you want to accomplish today. It could be listening to a podcast or an audiobook that stretches your perspective, encourages you, or teaches you something new. The content doesn't have to be long or elaborate, it just has to be intentional, because what you consume first is like the foundation of a building. If it's weak or unstable, everything you build on top of it is at risk of collapsing. The mistake many people make is thinking, "I'll get around to it later in the day," but you and I both know how that goes. The day picks up speed, responsibilities pile on, unexpected problems pop up, and by the time you have a moment to breathe, you're too tired to focus. That's why you make the investment first thing, before anything else can steal that window from you. Think about it like this: if you had a phone with 100% battery and you knew it had to last all day, would you start the day by opening every background app, running heavy videos, and draining your battery before you even left the house? Of course not, yet that's exactly what happens when you fill your mind with other people's priorities, problems, and noise before you've filled it with your own purpose. The beauty of this 1% habit is that it compounds. If you read just 10 pages of a good book every morning, you'll finish a dozen or more books in a year without ever feeling overwhelmed. If you write down 3 things you're grateful for every morning, you'll have over 1,000 reasons to feel thankful by the end of the year. If you listen to a 10-minute personal growth podcast each day, that's over 60 hours of positive, skill-building input without ever touching your free time. These little acts don't just feed your mind in the moment, they shape who you're becoming, and here's something powerful. The content you consume early in the day doesn't just inform you, it forms you. It subtly influences how you see the world, how you treat people, and how you talk to yourself. When you start with something positive, it's like putting on a clean pair of glasses. Everything you look at feels a little clearer, a little brighter, a little more hopeful. But when you start with chaos, you're putting on a dirty lens that colors everything with frustration, fear, or self-doubt. Some people resist this idea because they feel like they're too busy in the morning. But this isn't about adding a massive new routine, it's about replacing what you already do with something better. Instead of scrolling through your phone while you sip your coffee, read a page or 2 of something worthwhile. Instead of listening to morning radio filled with gossip or negativity, play a short motivational clip or an educational segment. You don't need an extra hour, you just need to swap one habit for another, and I'll tell you something, your mind is hungry in the morning. It's in a natural state of openness after waking up, ready to absorb and process information. Whatever you feed it during this time has a stronger impact than at almost any other point in the day. This is your chance to put the right fuel in the tank before you start the drive. Don't waste it on junk that's going to weigh you down before you've even left the driveway. When you start consistently feeding your mind before the world does, you begin to notice small but profound changes. You find yourself having better conversations because you have fresh ideas in your head. You're more patient when things go wrong because you began the day with something that grounded you. You're more confident tackling challenges because you've already invested in yourself before the day even asked anything from you. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, ask yourself one question before you pick up your phone. What am I going to feed my mind first? Because the answer to that question will quietly shape the rest of your day and eventually the rest of your life. Your body is the vehicle that carries you through every single thing you do in life, and yet so many of us start the day without even checking the engine. We wake up, maybe grab some coffee, rush out the door, and expect our mind to fire on all cylinders without ever giving our body a chance to wake up and work for us. But here's the thing, your mind and your body are not separate systems, they're deeply connected. When you move your body in the morning, you're not just stretching muscles. You're firing up your brain, improving your mood, and setting a physical rhythm for the day ahead. And I'm not talking about turning into a gym rat or running 5 miles before breakfast unless that's already your thing. This isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. It's about creating the habit of movement so your body sends your brain the message, we're awake, we're ready, let's go. Even something as small as a 10-minute walk, some light stretching, or a quick set of bodyweight exercises can make a huge difference. The key is to move in a way that feels good and is sustainable. When you move your body first thing in the morning, you're doing more than just getting blood flowing, you're boosting dopamine and serotonin, the chemicals in your brain that make you feel happier and more focused. You're also increasing oxygen flow to your brain, which literally helps you think clearer and make better decisions. Ever notice how a short walk can suddenly give you a new perspective on a problem? That's not an accident. Movement changes your physiology, and when you change your physiology, you change your state of mind. A lot of people think they don't have time to exercise in the morning, but here's the truth, you don't have time not to. The energy you gain from even a short burst of movement will save you hours of sluggishness later in the day. 5 minutes of push-ups, squats, or stretching might give you more mental clarity than your second cup of coffee ever could. And over time, that 1% improvement in how you start your day adds up in ways you can't even see at first. It's not just about health in the traditional sense, it's about leadership over your own body. If you can get yourself to move when you don't feel like it, you're building discipline. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things, even when they're uncomfortable. That mental strength spills over into everything else you do. Suddenly, making a tough phone call at work, having that difficult conversation, or tackling a big project doesn't feel quite as impossible because you've already practiced showing up for yourself in the smallest, most physical way. And here's another benefit, movement in the morning has a way of shaking off the mental dust we sometimes wake up with. You know that groggy, heavy feeling you can't quite explain, that's your body's way of saying, I'm still in sleep mode. A movement flips the switch, it signals to your body and your brain, we're not resting anymore, we're alive, we're moving, and we have work to do. That switch doesn't just change your morning, it changes how you approach the entire day. If you're someone who struggles with motivation, here's the trick, don't focus on how much you're going to do. Focus on showing up. Tell yourself, I'm just going to move for 2 minutes, that's it. Most of the time, once you start, your body will want to keep going. And even if you stop at 2 minutes, you've kept your promise to yourself, and that's what matters. Over time, those small wins stack up, and your brain starts to expect movement in the morning as part of your identity. The other thing about moving in the morning is that it creates a ripple effect in your choices throughout the day. When you start the day by taking care of your body, you're more likely to make better food choices, you're more likely to drink more water, and you're more likely to manage stress in a healthier way. It's like you've made a quiet agreement with yourself, we're doing good things for our body today, and you carry that agreement forward without even thinking about it. And maybe the most important point of all is this, your body is your responsibility, you only get one, and the way you treat it determines not just how long you live, but the quality of your life while you're living it. You can have all the goals, dreams, and plans in the world, but if you don't have the energy to pursue them, they'll stay stuck in your head. Movement is how you fuel that energy. It's how you remind yourself that you're alive, capable, and ready to take on what's ahead. So tomorrow morning, before you dive into emails, before you let the noise of the world in, before you convince yourself you're too busy, stand up, stretch, and move. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be intense. It just has to be something, because when you move your body, you move your life forward. One of the most overlooked but powerful ways to change the course of your day is to decide where you're going before the day even starts. Most people wake up, handle whatever comes their way, and end the day wondering why they didn't get to the things that actually mattered. It's not because they're lazy, it's because they didn't have a clear target. If you don't aim at something, you'll end up hitting anything, and usually it's not the thing you wanted. That's why taking a few minutes in the morning to plan your day with purpose isn't just a good idea, it's essential. Planning with purpose doesn't mean mapping out every single detail down to the minute. It's about identifying what really matters and giving it priority before distractions compete for your time. And there's one question that can help you get clear fast. If I only get one meaningful thing done today, what should it be? That question forces you to separate the urgent from the important. Because here's the reality, your day will always be filled with noise. Emails, messages, small tasks, interruptions, they'll come whether you plan for them or not. But that one meaningful thing, the thing that will move your life forward even a little, only gets done if you make it intentional. This is where so many people get stuck. They spend their day doing 100 small things that feel productive, but at the end, they realize they never touch the thing that would have made the most difference. It's like cleaning your desk when you should have been writing the proposal, or reorganizing your files when you should have been making the sales call. Those little tasks can be satisfying in the moment, but they don't create progress. Progress comes from focus. When you start your morning by choosing your most important task, you're giving yourself a North Star for the day. And it doesn't have to be a huge project. It could be something as simple as having a conversation you've been avoiding, finishing a chapter of a book you're writing, or making a call to a potential client. The size doesn't matter as much as the impact. The question is, if I do this one thing today, will I end the day feeling like it was a win? Here's why this works so well. Our willpower and focus are strongest in the first part of the day. That's when your mind is freshest and your energy is highest. If you save your most important task for the afternoon or evening, you're trying to do your best work with the weakest version of yourself. That's like trying to run a race after you've already played a full game. You might finish, but you won't be at your best. And don't overthink the planning process. This isn't about creating a perfect, color-coded schedule. It's about clarity. You can take a simple notebook or a piece of paper and write down 3 things. The one big task, 2 smaller supporting tasks, and maybe a note or 2 about how you're going to approach them. That's it. The act of writing it down makes it real. It's no longer just floating around in your head, waiting to be forgotten. The other thing that happens when you plan your day in the morning is you reduce decision fatigue. If you don't decide early on what matters, you'll spend your whole day reacting to whatever pops up. Every time you decide what to do next, you burn a little mental energy, and by the end of the day, you're running on empty. But when you already know your priorities, you save that energy for actually doing the work instead of deciding what the work is. There's also a sense of control that comes with planning. You can't control everything that happens. Life will throw surprises at you. But when you start with a plan, you're choosing to play offense instead of defense. You're saying, here's what I'm aiming for today, and I'm going to let the rest fit around it, not the other way around. That shift in mindset makes a huge difference in how you handle interruptions and stress. And here's something important. Give yourself permission to win small. Some days your most important task might be big and bold, but other days it might be something small but meaningful, especially if you're going through a hard season. The goal is consistent progress, not perfection. Even if you only move forward 1 step, you're still moving, and that movement compounds over time. If you want to take this even deeper, try reviewing your plan at the end of the day. Look at what worked, what didn't, and adjust for tomorrow. This reflection takes only a minute or 2, but it teaches you where your time actually goes and helps you get better at protecting it. Over time, you'll get sharper at knowing which tasks truly matter and which ones are just distractions wearing a mask of productivity. When you make morning planning a habit, you'll start to notice something powerful. You feel lighter. You're no longer carrying the weight of uncertainty through the day because you know exactly what your target is. And even if the day doesn't go perfectly, because it rarely does, you can still end it knowing you moved forward on what matters most. So tomorrow morning, before you let the day take over, choose your one meaningful thing, protect it, prioritize it. And watch how the simple act of planning with purpose turns ordinary days into days that count. Every morning is a new opportunity to make yourself just a little bit better than you were yesterday. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is to practice a skill every single day, even if it's just for a short time. We often think growth comes from big leaps, a huge breakthrough, a major change, a sudden transformation. But more often than not, real growth is the result of small, consistent steps that stack up over time. That's the beauty of practicing a skill daily. You don't have to spend hours doing it, you just have to keep showing up. The truth is, we all have skills we'd like to develop. Maybe it's communication, writing, public speaking, learning a new language, playing an instrument, or mastering a tool for your work. The problem is, we tend to wait for the right time to start. We wait for a free weekend, a less busy season, or some imaginary point when life slows down. But that time rarely comes. Life doesn't hand you an opening for growth, you have to create it. And the easiest way to create it is to build it into your mornings, before the rest of the day can steal it from you. Even 10 or 15 minutes every morning can make a massive difference. It doesn't sound like much in the moment, but think about it. If you spend 15 minutes a day working on a skill, that's over 90 hours in a year. 90 hours of focused, intentional practice. Do you know what kind of progress you can make in that amount of time? You can go from beginner to competent, from competent to advanced, or from advanced to exceptional, not because you crammed, but because you committed. The power of this habit is in the compounding effect. Just like compound interest turns small deposits into massive growth over time, consistent practice turns small efforts into mastery. At first, you might barely notice the progress. It might feel slow, even frustrating. But each day you're laying bricks, and eventually, you look back and see a wall you didn't even realize you were building. That's how skills are developed, not through bursts of inspiration, but through steady, deliberate practice. There's also a deeper benefit here. When you practice a skill each morning, you start your day with a win, before the world has asked anything of you. Before you've had to react to problems or put out fires, you've already invested in yourself. That creates momentum, it builds confidence, it sends you into the rest of the day knowing that no matter what happens, you've already done something to grow. That's not just motivating, it's empowering. Now, let's be real, there will be mornings when you don't feel like practicing. You'll be tired, distracted, or just not in the mood. That's normal, but those are the days that matter the most, because showing up when it's hard is where the real growth happens. If you can work on your skill when you don't feel like it, you're building discipline as well as ability. And that discipline will spill over into every area of your life. The key is to keep it simple and keep it consistent. Don't set a goal so big that it becomes overwhelming. If you want to learn guitar, play for 10 minutes each morning. If you want to improve your writing, commit to writing just one paragraph a day. If you want to get better at public speaking, practice speaking out loud to yourself for a few minutes each morning. The time you put in matters far less than the consistency with which you put it in. And here's the thing, the better you get, the more motivated you'll be to keep going. Progress fuels passion. At first, it might feel like work, but as you see yourself improving, the practice becomes something you look forward to. You start to enjoy the process because you're watching yourself become the kind of person who follows through, who grows, who doesn't just talk about getting better, they actually do it. Another hidden benefit is how this habit shapes your identity. The more you practice a skill, the more you start to see yourself as someone who is skilled. That shift in identity changes how you show up in the world. You speak with more confidence. You take on challenges you might have avoided before. You see opportunities where you used to see obstacles, because you know you're capable of learning and improving. It's also worth saying that you don't have to pick a skill that's tied to your career. It could be something purely personal, something you do just because it enriches your life. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's photography, maybe it's cooking. The point is to choose something that matters to you, something that will make your life richer and your sense of self stronger. So think about the skill you've been wanting to develop, the thing you've been putting off because you don't have time. Then ask yourself, can I give it 10 minutes tomorrow morning? Because if you can, and you do that consistently, you'll be shocked at how far you've come a year from now. And that's the power of improving yourself 1% each morning. It's not about overnight success, it's about steady growth. Every morning you practice is a step toward the person you want to be, and over time, those steps will take you farther than you ever thought possible. One of the most important parts of improving yourself each morning is something most people skip entirely: reflection. We live in such a forward-moving, fast-paced world that we rarely stop to look back, even for a few minutes, to see where we've actually been. But if you're trying to grow, you can't just keep stacking action on top of action without checking whether those actions are actually taking you in the right direction. Reflection is how you close that loop. It's how you make sure you're not just busy, but better. The idea is simple. At the end of your morning routine, take a brief moment to check in with yourself. Look at what's been working, what hasn't, and where you can make small adjustments. This doesn't have to be a long journaling session unless you want it to be. It could be as quick as asking yourself, am I better than I was yesterday? What helped me move forward? What held me back? These questions pull your growth into focus and make it intentional instead of accidental. Because here's the truth, without reflection, you can end up working really hard at the wrong things. You might be pushing forward with habits that aren't actually helping you, or ignoring small changes that could make a big difference. It's like driving a car without ever checking the map. You might be moving fast, but that doesn't mean you're headed toward where you want to be. Reflection is your chance to correct the course before you waste time, energy, and focus. And reflection isn't just about fixing mistakes. It's also about recognizing progress. Sometimes we get so caught up in what's left to do that we don't acknowledge what we've already done. But taking a moment to celebrate the small wins is important, because those wins build momentum. They remind you that your effort is paying off, even if the results aren't huge yet. When you see that yesterday you couldn't do something and today you can, it gives you the fuel to keep going. Adjusting is the other half of reflection. Once you see what's working and what's not, you make small, deliberate changes. If you notice your morning exercise is leaving you too tired, maybe you scale it back to something lighter. If your reading time is getting interrupted, maybe you adjust your wake-up time by 15 minutes. If your focus is slipping halfway through your most important task, maybe you switch it to the very first thing you do after breakfast. These aren't big, life-altering shifts. They're tiny course corrections that keep you moving toward your target instead of drifting away from it. The power of this habit is in how quickly it compounds. When you reflect and adjust daily, you're not waiting months to find out something isn't working, you're catching it almost immediately. That saves you time, frustration, and wasted effort. It's the difference between slightly nudging a ship's direction now versus realizing too late that you've sailed hundreds of miles off course. And here's the other thing: reflection makes you more self-aware. The more you practice it, the more you start to notice patterns in your behavior. You see which situations make you more productive and which ones drain you. You start to understand your triggers, your habits, and your strengths at a deeper level. That self-awareness becomes a superpower, because it lets you make choices that actually fit you instead of trying to copy what works for someone else. There's also something grounding about taking a moment to look inward before you step into the chaos of the day. Reflection slows you down just enough to breathe, think, and approach the day with clarity. Instead of just reacting to whatever comes, you're entering the day with a sense of control. You're not guessing, you're making informed, intentional choices. Some mornings your reflection might be quick and uplifting. Yesterday went well, let's keep doing that. Other mornings it might be more challenging. I got distracted. I avoided the hard task. I need to do better, and that's okay. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be honest. Honesty with yourself is the only way to grow, because pretending something is fine when it isn't will only keep you stuck. Over time, you'll find that reflection becomes a natural part of your morning. You won't even have to think about it. You'll automatically ask yourself, what worked? What didn't? What's next? That's when you know it's becoming part of your identity. And once it's part of who you are, it doesn't just improve your mornings, it starts to influence how you make decisions in every area of your life. So as you work to improve yourself 1% every morning, remember that the gains you're making will multiply if you take the time to pause, reflect, and adjust. Small improvements, checked and refined daily, will take you further than big, inconsistent bursts ever could, and when you combine consistent action with consistent reflection, you create a cycle of growth that's almost impossible to stop. Because the goal isn't just to get better, it's to get better at getting better. So here's the truth, your life isn't going to change by accident. You can hope, you can wish, you can wait for the right time, but nothing shifts until you decide. 1% every morning, that's all it takes. Don't walk out of here inspired but unchanged. Tomorrow morning, prove it to yourself. Set the alarm, get up, do one thing that moves you forward, then do it again the next day. And the next, stack those wins until you don't even recognize the old you. The future you're dreaming about is waiting, but it's waiting on you to start.